What's up, guys? Scotty2 Hockey here, aka the average hockey fan, and a rough loss for the Montreal Canadiens last night. It isn't a shocking loss. It kind of went how I predicted it was going to go. It did end up going into overtime. It was a close game. There really wasn't much as far as scoring, but as far as excitement and end-to-end rushes and Price making big saves, both goalies having big games, it was exciting that way as far as a low-scoring game comes. Montreal could have had this game. I'm 100%. This 100% isn't on Price. It isn't on them having a terrible game by no means. They did have a bad first period, but somehow managed to come out of it with a 1-0 lead thanks to Paul Byron and Nate Thompson making a good play in his own zone. Unfortunately for Montreal, Columbus does make up a point, but it isn't all bad. With Montreal getting the point in overtime, there's still 2 points up on Columbus, so Columbus has a game in hand. So even if Columbus wins that game in hand and Montreal loses their next game, by the time the Columbus game comes, which is 2 games away, they would be even. So that game would pretty much be like a playoff game. Whichever team wins gets a 2-point lead with 3 or 4 games left, which is huge with 3 or 4 games left. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. I'm hoping Montreal beats Florida in the next game. They get a 4-point lead. Columbus loses their next game. So when Montreal plays Columbus, yes, still have the game in hand, but Montreal will have a 4-point lead. So if they did come out of that game with the victory, they're pretty much solidified in the playoffs. With a 6-point lead, even though Columbus would have a game in hand, with 3 or 4 games left and a 6-point lead, you're pretty much locked in during the playoffs. So I'm hoping that's the scenario it comes down to. We'll see what happens, guys. As for last night's game, I was very impressed with Carey Price. I was impressed with the effort. I thought they were going to be a lot more tired looking than what they were. After the first period, they put their wheels on. They had a very strong second period. The third period was kind of back and forth. The Habs just couldn't win any faceoffs. And even though they were getting pinned in their own zone a bit, they weren't allowing a lot of quality attempts. As far as quality scoring attempts, Carolina had a few in the first period. But as far as the majority of quality scoring attempts, Montreal did have 11 less shots, but they had better scoring attempts. Price made some good saves, though, for sure. As for the shots, Montreal 29. Hits were 29 for Montreal. Face-off percentage was 47.8. Would have been a lot better if they had to win some face-offs in the third period when it counted. Power play, 0 for 1. Penalty kill, 3 for 3. Carey Price had a great night, .950 save percentage, stopped 38 of 40 shots. It was Rogers' hometown hockey, and they were doing a lot of features on Native Americans and Native Canadians, wherever you're from, but Native people in general. Carey Price is half Native. He's very proud of his Native heritage, so I'm sure this night meant a lot to him, and he would have loved to get the shutout on this night. He looked very frustrated when the game-tying goal went in, and it wasn't on him at all. It was a fluke. No goalie is stopping that unless it's a lucky stop. You're just positionally sound in the spot for that. Carolina, shots 40, hits 37, face-off percentage 52.2%, power play 0 for 3, penalty kill 1 for 1. McElhaney had a good night too. He didn't face a lot, but he did have a good night. .960 save percentage, 28 of 29 stops. Most of those came in the second period. The Habs did come on strong in the second period. They just couldn't score. And in overtime, they did only have 1 shot, but it was a really good quality scoring attempt. I believe it was Byron came in flying with his speed, passed it back to Domi. Domi just couldn't score. So they were that close to winning. It wasn't a bad effort for a team that should have been really tired. They literally just played in Montreal. They flew out to Carolina for a game. Within a couple hours, they're playing a game. God only knows how much rest these guys had. Carey Price looked great, though. The first period, 14:58 in, after Montreal is getting dominated in shots. I'm not going to say getting dominated in play, because most of the shots Carolina had weren't quality. They, like I said in my preview, Montreal was forced into the outside. They did have a couple nice chances, though. They had one nice chance where the player came in, shot a puck. It came right off Price's pad. He immediately scooped up the rebound and went to shoot it on Price. Before he knew it, Price had the glove down and absolutely snapped it up, lightning-like save. Price made another nice save where a player was coming on a break, and he forced him over by the player was trying to come around and put it behind Price's pad, but Price slid across fast enough to force the puck over, which hit off the back of Price's skate, then the post, then went out. So he had a couple nice saves like that, a glove save here and there. But other than that, the majority of the shots for Carolina were like every single other time Carolina plays. They put whatever they can on net. They hope for a tip in, and if they do get a quality chance in front of the net, they'll take it. But they don't get a lot of them, and that was the case last night. Price made some really good saves. He faced 21 shots in the first period. As for the second period, there was no scoring. Montreal dominated the second period, in my opinion. They controlled possession. They were good on the face-off. They had lots of quality scoring attempts. They hit 2 posts in the second period. Well, they definitely hit 1. I can't remember if they hit another one, but I'm pretty sure they hit 2 posts in the second period. Everybody was flying in the second period. I think they kind of overdid it and wore themselves out in the second period because they looked tired in the third period. But Carolina was looking like they were feeling the effects of their back-to-back too. 14-21, Van Riemsdyk. I also have to mention, on that Byron goal, The Byron at 14:58, Byron scores on the Byron goal. It was assisted by Gallagher and Thompson, but the way that the goal was scored, Carolina was trying to clear out of their zone. Simple clearing play. They're about to pass it over. Nate Thompson does what he always does, comes right down, flies down, gets in the Carolina player's face, manages to force a fluky turnover, a broken play, gets over to Gallagher. Gallagher whips it over to Byron, and Byron literally has a wide open cage. He doesn't even have to move his stick. He just lays his stick there. It bounces off Byron's stick in the net. Another beautiful tipping goal for Paul Byron. Back-to-back games with goals for Paul Byron. Second period, like I said, no scoring. Third period, 14-21 in. Looked like the Habs were going to win this game. There's not much time left. Carolina isn't getting a lot of quality scoring attempts. They're starting to look tired. Montreal's actually starting to push back a bit at the end of the third period. And Van Riemsdyk shoots from outside the point of a fluky tip. They said it was Van Riemsdyk's goal, but I don't believe it was Van Riemsdyk's goal. I believe it was I can't remember which player it was, had his stick out there. It hit off his stick, came down, hit off Ben's stick, and then beat Price. It was a completely ping-pong shot. Price looked so frustrated on it. He wasn't out of position. He was in the right position to stop the puck. It was just two fluky tips. Not one fluky tip, two fluky tips. But somehow they awarded that goal to Van Riemsdyk, and the commentators commentated on that too. So I don't know if they're going to go and change that, but that's what it's still listed as, Van Riemsdyk's goal. And that was assisted by Ferland and Matt Nuke. And I believe Matt Nuke was the guy who tipped it in. And OT, 3:15, Svechnikov comes in. He gets a nice pass from Jordan Staal, a 2-on-1. It leads to a 2-on-1. But Svechnikov decides to keep it and shoot it and not pass it, and he beats Price with a beautiful, clean wrist shot just under the skate. Wasn't the best goal in the world, but I'm not going to shit on Carey Price for that. He had a great game. It was a 2-on-1 in overtime. A hot young rookie with a great shot beats you clean on a wrist shot. It's not the end of the world. The Habs do get the point in it. Thankfully, they did get a point in this game. I would not want to see him 1 point behind Columbus, 1 point ahead of Columbus, with Columbus having a game in hand. Because if Columbus were to win that game in hand down the stretch and that game in hand counted, that automatically gives Columbus the 1 point lead on Montreal. I don't want to see it a tie either because Columbus gets in that way. But I just want to see Montreal stretch the lead. Like I said, the dream scenario would be for Montreal to win their next game against Florida, Columbus to lose their next game. Then Montreal has a 4-point lead. Come in, play Columbus in the game after that. Win that game. You have a 6-point lead with 3 or 4 games left. 4 games left, I believe. They are tough teams, but 6-point lead with 4 games left. That's a lot for Columbus to make up. I know Columbus is good, but they would have to win every game to make that up. Because Montreal isn't going to lose their last 4. I believe they're going to beat Washington. I believe they have a good chance against Toronto. It's the Winnipeg and Tampa games that worry me. But anyways, I didn't hate the game. I know Montreal lost. I know a lot of Habs fans were devastated. Like the guy who comments on this, Matt Kelly, he's one of the guys who always comments on this. He said it's an emotional roller coaster this season. He wished they could just get the points that they would be comfortably in. It's draining. As a Habs fan, it is draining. Seeing them win 3 straight, then lose a couple, then win 3 straight, then lose 1 in overtime. It's just too much inconsistency. If you're going to get in, if you're going to decide your own destiny, at least play hard. But they have been playing hard the past few games. The power play hasn't been bad by no means. They only had 1 last night. Wasn't a great power play. They were facing a good penalty kill, but their penalty kill was really good. They were 3 for 3. Price had a good night. Byron had a goal. Thompson has a 5-game point streak. So it's absolutely great that way in Montreal. As for the next game, it's against Florida. It's a very, very big game. Hopefully the Habs can get revenge for the 6-3 loss where Niemi blew the game from letting 3 goals in the first period on the first 9 shots. This time it will be Carey Price, and I don't believe that will be the case. So stay tuned for my review of the Florida game tomorrow. I'm absolutely pumped for that game. I know it's going to be an anxiety-filled game, especially if Florida gets a lead and the Habs are chasing. I want the Habs to dominate Florida in that game. Get a 4-0 lead going into the third period. Make it over before it's over. Anyways, guys, hope you like this recap. Sorry it's a little bit late. I did a live stream last night, so I didn't go to bed till late myself, and I had to work today. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, remember to subscribe and ring that bell, and stay tuned for my upcoming videos. And feel free to leave a comment on what you thought of the game. Thanks for viewing. Mr. Average Hockey Fan, a.k.a. Scotty2Hockey, over and out.